Please tell me you are not wearing that." Claire's voice stopped me halfway through the ballroom entrance. I looked down at my clothes. A plain black shirt, dark jeans, and the old silver watch my father had given me before he died. Nothing expensive. Nothing impressive. What is wrong with it? Her eyes moved across the crowded hall before returning to me. Everything. Around us, West Bridge University's charity gala glittered with crystal lights, champagne glasses, designer dresses, and expensive suits. I had spent the entire afternoon in a private business meeting across town, working on a deal that could change my company forever. I had barely made it back in time. Claire stepped closer. "My friends are here tonight." "I know. And my mother is coming." "I know that too." Her jaw tightened. "You could have worn the suit I bought you." "I had work." "You always have some excuse." I watched her smooth her dress and check her reflection in the dark window beside us. For almost 2 years, I had loved this woman enough to ignore moments like this. I had ignored the way she stopped holding my hand whenever her wealthy friends appeared. I had ignored the way she introduced me as a friend at expensive restaurants. I had ignored every awkward pause whenever someone asked what my family did. I told myself she would eventually understand. Maybe I was the one who had been lying to myself. "Come on," she whispered. "Just stay near me and don't embarrass me." That sentence hurt more than it should have. "Embarrass you?" She sighed, already looking toward the entrance. "Ethan, please don't make this difficult." Before I could answer, a group of students approached. Ryan Mitchell stood at the center, dressed in a black designer suit that probably cost more than my monthly living expenses. His father owned one of the biggest investment firms in the state, and everyone at West Bridge knew it. Ryan's smile widened when he saw me. "Well, this is unexpected." Claire's hand slipped away from mine. I noticed. Ryan noticed too. "You actually came," he continued, glancing at my clothes. I thought this event had a dress code. A few people laughed. I kept my expression calm. "I didn't realize you were checking the guest list." His smile faded for half a second. Claire stepped between us. "Let's not start something." Ryan lifted his hands innocently. "I was only joking." Then he leaned closer to one of his friends. "Some people just don't understand where they belong." The laughter came again. I could have ended the conversation right there. One phone call, one message, one name. That was all it would have taken. But I had spent 3 years hiding my family's identity for a reason. I didn't want to be respected because of my last name. I wanted to build something with my own hands. So I swallowed the anger and followed Claire toward the main hall. For the next hour, I watched her become someone I barely recognized. She smiled brightly for wealthy students. She laughed at jokes she didn't find funny. She stood beside Ryan while donors took photographs. And whenever someone asked about me, she found a way to move the conversation somewhere else. Eventually, I walked outside onto the terrace. The cold air felt better than the crowded room. I pulled out my phone. 3 missed calls from Marcus. My older brother rarely called during the evening unless something important had happened. I was about to call him back when the terrace doors opened. Claire walked out. "You need to leave." I stared at her. "What? Just go home." "Why?" "Because you're making me uncomfortable." I lowered my phone. "I haven't done anything." "You don't have to." Her voice was shaking now, but not from sadness. From anger. "I can't keep pretending this is working." My stomach dropped. "Pretending?" She folded her arms. "Do you know how humiliating it is when people ask me about you?" I almost laughed, but nothing about the moment was funny. "What do they ask?" "They ask what your family owns, where you live, what your father does, what kind of future you can give me." "And what do you tell them?" Her silence answered for her. I took a slow breath. "Claire, I love you." She looked away. "That isn't enough." The words landed harder than I expected. "Then what is?" She finally faced me. "Someone with ambition. Someone who can stand beside me." "I have ambition, not the kind that matters." The terrace doors opened again. People were watching. Ryan stood among them. Claire glanced at the crowd, then back at me. Something changed in her face. Maybe she was embarrassed. Maybe she was angry. Maybe she simply stopped caring about hurting me. "You're a nobody, Ethan." The words spread through the silence. I heard someone gasp. Claire continued before she could take them back. "I deserve someone better than this." Ryan's expression changed. He had expected me to explode. Instead, I looked at Claire's face and realized I had been fighting for a relationship that she had already abandoned. My fingers tightened around my phone. Okay. Her eyes widened. That's it. What else do you want from me? She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I stepped around her. No argument. No begging. No final speech. Just the sound of my shoes against the marble floor as I walked through the crowd. Nobody stopped me. Outside, I finally called Marcus. He answered immediately. Where are you? Heading home. There was a pause. Are you alone? Yes. His voice became careful. Then you're going to want to sit down when you get here. I arrived at our private apartment 20 minutes later. Marcus was waiting beside the dining table with a black leather folder. He pushed it toward me. You remember Cole Meridian? I stared at him. Of course. How much do you know about its current valuation? Enough. He opened the folder. My eyes moved across the documents. Then I saw the final page. Westbridge University's largest corporate sponsor was listed in the acquisition agreement. My hand stopped moving. Marcus leaned back. Tomorrow morning, Cole Meridian completes the acquisition. I looked at him. So, his expression hardened. So, Ethan, everyone at Westbridge thinks you're a nobody. He tapped the folder. They're about to learn who owns the company buying their biggest sponsor. I stared at my signature on the final page. For 3 years, I had hidden my name. Tomorrow, the entire campus would hear it. By 8 the next morning, my phone had already filled with messages. I didn't need to open them to know where they came from. Claire had never been good at accepting silence. I sat at the kitchen table with Marcus across from me, the acquisition documents between us. The coffee in my cup had gone cold, but I barely noticed. You're really not going to call her? No. Marcus studied my face. She expects you to. She can expect whatever she wants. He leaned back. That sounds like progress. I almost smiled. It wasn't progress yet. It was pain wearing a calm face. My phone vibrated again. Claire, we need to talk. Another message appeared. Claire, you left without letting me explain. Then another. Claire, please don't make this bigger than it is. I turned the phone face down. Marcus glanced at it. You still love her. I stared at the acquisition file. That doesn't mean I have to keep choosing someone who doesn't choose me. The words felt strange coming from my own mouth. But they were true. I opened the folder and forced myself to focus. Cole Meridian had started as a small software company my father built before his death. After he passed away, Marcus and I expanded it quietly. I became the controlling owner at 21, but I kept my name away from the public because I wanted one part of my life to remain normal. College had been that place. Claire had been the person I trusted there. Now both were changing. By noon, the rumors had already spread. I heard them outside the library. That's him. The guy Claire dumped. Apparently he couldn't even afford the event. Ryan was with her last night. I kept walking. One voice followed me. Honestly, she upgraded. My hand tightened around the strap of my backpack. I could have turned around. I could have ended every rumor with one sentence. Instead, I entered the library. My phone buzzed again. This time, Claire wasn't asking me to talk. Claire, why are you ignoring me? I typed 3 words. Because you asked me to leave. I stared at the message before sending it. Then I did something harder. I blocked her. The screen went quiet. My heart didn't. That afternoon, I saw them together outside the student center. Claire stood beside Ryan while several students laughed around them. His hand rested casually on her shoulder. She noticed me. Her smile disappeared. Ryan turned. Well, look who decided to show up. I kept walking. Ethan. I stopped. Claire hurried toward me. Can we talk? You already said everything. Her face tightened. I was angry. You weren't confused. I didn't mean for everyone to hear. But you meant it. She looked down. Ryan approached slowly. Come on, Claire. You don't owe him anything. I looked at him. You're right. Ryan seemed surprised. I continued walking. Behind me, Claire called my name again. I didn't turn around. That night, I drove to Cole Meridian's private office. The building looked nothing like my college apartment. Glass walls, private elevators, security personnel, and a conference room overlooking the city. I removed my student ID and placed it beside the corporate documents. Two versions of me. One was the quiet student everyone underestimated. The other controlled a company valued at hundreds of millions. Marcus entered carrying another file. "We have a problem." I looked up. "What kind?" "West Bridges sponsor agreement." He placed several pages on the table. "Ryan's family has been pushing for control of the university's technology contracts." I scanned the numbers. "They're already a major investor." More than that, Marcus opened another document. Several contracts were redirected through shell companies connected to Mitchell Capital. I leaned closer. "These numbers don't make sense." "They don't." I turned another page. Payments had been moved through companies that appeared unrelated, but the ownership trails connected back to Ryan's father. Does the university know? Not yet. I closed the folder. "Find out who approved these contracts." Marcus nodded. "And Ethan?" I looked up. "Don't do this because you're angry at Ryan." "I won't." "Good." He paused at the door. "Because if you expose him, you're not just changing your life. You're changing his." I watched him leave. For the next 3 hours, I worked. Every document pulled me deeper into a web of hidden payments and suspicious agreements. The more I found, the less this felt like coincidence. Ryan wasn't simply a rich student showing off. His family had been building influence inside Westbridge for years. Around midnight, my phone lit up with a message from an unknown number. "You should stay away from Ryan Mitchell." I stared at it. A second message appeared. "Some people don't know when to stop." I leaned back. So they were watching me. That was fine. Let them. The next morning, I returned to campus. Claire was waiting outside my classroom. Her arms were folded, but her expression wasn't angry anymore. "Why did you block me?" I walked past her. "Because I needed peace." "You could have talked to me." "We talked." "No. You decided everything for both of us." I stopped. "You called me a nobody." Her face fell. "I know. You told me you deserved someone better." "I was wrong." "Maybe." She stepped closer. "Then give me another chance." I shook my head. "I'm not going back to a place where I have to prove I'm worth standing beside you." Her eyes became wet. "You really mean that?" "Yes." Before she could respond, a black luxury car stopped near the curb. Ryan stepped out. He looked toward us. Then he smiled. Claire didn't return it. That tiny detail stayed with me. Something had shifted. She wasn't chasing Ryan anymore. She was watching me walk away. I didn't know it yet, but that was the beginning of her regret. That evening, Marcus called. "It's official." I stopped beside my apartment window. The board approved the acquisition. I looked toward the university lights in the distance. "When?" "Tomorrow." He paused. "And there's something else." "What?" "Westbridge's president wants the new owner personally introduced at the campus ceremony." My fingers tightened around the phone. "Do they know who that is?" Marcus gave a quiet laugh. "No." I stared at the city, then let them wonder. Tomorrow, the campus would finally meet the man behind Cole Meridian, and Claire would discover that the nobody she rejected had never been a nobody at all. By 7 in the morning, my name was already being whispered across campus. Nobody knew the truth yet. They only knew that Cole Meridian was taking control of Westbridge University's biggest corporate partnership, and everyone had a different theory about the mysterious owner. I stood in front of my apartment mirror, fixing the cuffs of a dark suit. Marcus had chosen it for me. "You look like you're going to a funeral." I adjusted my tie. "Maybe someone else's career is going to die today." A faint smile crossed his face. "That's the attitude I was hoping you wouldn't have." He handed me a thin folder. "This arrived 20 minutes ago." I opened it. My smile disappeared. Bank transfers, private contracts, shell companies, names connected to Mitchell Capital. The final pages showed money moving through 3 separate companies before returning to an account controlled by Ryan's father. I closed the folder slowly. "How certain are we?" 98%. "And the other 2%? That's why we're sending everything to an independent investigation." I walked toward the window. Westbridge was already crowded. Students were gathering around the main auditorium. News cameras stood near the entrance. Faculty members moved quickly across the courtyard. Then I noticed Claire. She was standing beside Ryan. He wore a navy suit and the confident smile he always used when he believed he had already won. Claire noticed me through the glass. Her expression changed. She walked toward the building. Ryan followed. A few minutes later, someone knocked. Claire stood outside my office. "You're wearing a suit." I opened the door wider. Apparently, that's allowed. Her eyes moved over my clothes. "You look different. I've always owned a suit." She swallowed. "I wanted to talk before the ceremony." "About what?" She glanced toward Ryan. "He thinks his family is going to become Westbridge's biggest partner." "I've heard. And my mother thinks this is the beginning of something important. For your family?" She nodded. I waited. Her voice became quieter. "Ryan and I are supposed to attend the announcement together." Something inside me twisted, but I kept my face still. "Then you should go." "You don't care?" "I've stopped trying to control choices that aren't mine." She looked down. "I didn't mean for everything to become like this." "You did mean it when you called me a nobody." Her eyes lifted. "I regret that." "Regret doesn't change what happened." She took a breath. "I know." Before she could say more, Ryan appeared behind her. "Claire, we're going to be late." His eyes moved over me. "Nice suit." I stepped aside. "Enjoy the ceremony." Ryan smiled. "I plan to." They walked away. I closed the door. Marcus was waiting inside. "You didn't tell her?" "No." "Why?" I looked at the folder. "Because I don't want her to think I'm revealing this to punish her." He nodded. "Good." I opened the evidence again. "But what happens to her family?" Marcus's expression became serious. "That's not your decision. Her mother could lose everything. Her mother chose her business partners. Claire didn't." "No, but she chose Ryan." I stared at the documents. That was the part one hated. If I exposed Ryan's family, Claire's world would collapse too. If I stayed silent, innocent people could continue paying the price. Marcus placed a hand on the folder. "Ethan, protecting someone from consequences isn't the same as protecting them from harm." I looked at him. "You're saying I should expose everything." "I'm saying you should tell the truth and let the evidence speak." I nodded. "Then that's what I'll do." At 10, the auditorium was packed. I stood behind the curtain while the university president welcomed hundreds of students, professors, donors, and business leaders. I could hear the crowd through the wall. Ryan sat near the front. Claire was beside him. Victoria Bennett sat with several board members. The president stepped toward the microphone. "Today marks a historic moment for Westbridge University." Applause filled the auditorium. He continued, "Our new corporate partner has made an extraordinary commitment to this university." More applause. Then he paused. "And today, we welcome the person behind that commitment." The lights shifted. My heart beat once hard. The curtain opened. I walked onto the stage. The applause died almost instantly. I kept walking. Claire stared at me. Ryan's smile vanished. I reached the podium. The president looked at me with a proud smile. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ethan Cole, founder and controlling owner of Cole Meridian." Nobody moved. Nobody clapped. I could almost hear hundreds of people trying to understand what they had just heard. Claire's lips parted. "Ethan?" Her voice reached me from the front row. I looked toward her. "Yes." She shook her head slowly. "You're the owner." Ryan stood halfway from his seat. "This has to be a mistake." I turned toward him. "No mistake." The president stepped back. Ryan's face had lost all color. His father had spent years building influence around Westbridge. Now the company controlling that influence belonged to the student he had mocked. A camera flashed. Then another. Whispers spread through the room. "That can't be him. He was Claire's boyfriend. He's a billionaire? Why was he hiding it?" I raised my hand. The room gradually settled. I didn't come here to embarrass anyone. My eyes moved across the crowd. I came here because this university deserves honesty. Ryan sat back down. His hands were shaking. I opened the folder. During our review of Westbridge's corporate contracts, Cole Meridian discovered financial records that require independent investigation. Victoria stood abruptly. "What are you accusing us of?" I didn't look at her with anger. "I am not accusing anyone." I placed copies of the documents on the podium. "I am asking independent auditors and legal authorities to determine what happened." Ryan stepped forward. "You're doing this because of Claire." The room reacted. I met his stare. "No." My voice stayed calm. I'm doing it because money taken through deception does not become honest just because powerful people approve the paperwork. His face hardened. You think you can destroy my family? No. I closed the folder. Your choices will decide what happens next. Claire remained frozen in her seat. Her eyes never left me. I remembered the terrace. Her voice. You're a nobody, Ethan. Now hundreds of people knew the truth. But strangely, I didn't feel victorious. I only felt tired. The president returned to the microphone. Mr. Cole, what happens to the university partnership? I looked toward the audience. Cole Meridian will honor every legitimate commitment. I paused. But until the investigation is complete, every questionable contract will be suspended. A wave of shocked whispers moved through the auditorium. Ryan's father had built his power through those contracts. Now that power was gone. I stepped away from the podium. As I reached the side of the stage, my phone vibrated. One message. From Claire. Please don't leave. I need to tell you something. I looked toward her. She was no longer sitting beside Ryan. She was staring at her phone with trembling hands. I walked backstage. She followed. But before she reached me, I saw a second message appear on my screen. It wasn't from Claire. It was from Ryan. If you expose my family, Claire's family falls too. I stopped walking. Suddenly, this wasn't only about revenge, money, or a broken relationship. Someone had just threatened to make Claire pay for a war she never understood. And I had to decide what I was willing to sacrifice to uncover the truth. Please don't walk away. Claire's voice followed me through the empty hallway behind the auditorium. The celebration outside was still going on. Cameras flashed. Reporters moved through the crowd. Students whispered my name like it belonged to someone else. But in that hallway, none of it mattered. There was only Claire, and everything we had broken. I stopped near a window overlooking the campus. She stood a few steps away, holding her phone tightly. The message from Ryan still sat on my screen. If you expose my family, Claire's family falls too. I slipped the phone into my pocket. What do you want to tell me? She took a slow breath. The contracts. What about them? My mother knew some of Ryan's family business dealings. I stared at her. How much? I don't know everything. That isn't an answer. Her shoulders dropped. I knew they had connections with the university. I knew Ryan's father promised investment opportunities. My mother believed it would help our family. And you? Her eyes moved toward the window. I believed what she believed. The answer hurt more than I expected. Not because it was cruel, because it was honest. When we first met, she continued softly, none of that mattered to me. I stayed quiet. You were kind. You listened. You made simple things feel important. A weak smile appeared on her face. Coffee before class. Walking back to the dorms. Studying in the library until midnight. Her smile disappeared. Then my mother started asking questions. I already knew the questions. What does his family own? How much money does he have? What future can he give you? Claire looked down at her hands. She kept telling me that love wasn't enough. And you believed her? Yes. The word came out almost like a whisper. Ryan appeared at the right time. He had money, connections, confidence, and I had none of those things. No. Her eyes lifted quickly. That isn't what I mean, but it's what you thought. She didn't deny it. That silence answered more than words could. I knew Ryan was arrogant, she admitted. I knew he enjoyed showing off. I knew he liked making people feel small. Then why stay with him? Because I was afraid. Of what? Of choosing the wrong future. A bitter laugh escaped me. So you chose security. I chose what looked safe. The hallway became quiet. Outside, students were still celebrating the partnership. Inside, it felt like we were standing in the ruins of something that had already ended. Claire stepped closer. When you walked away from me at the gala, I thought you would come back. I know. You always came back after arguments. This wasn't an argument. Her fingers tightened around her phone. I understand that now. I looked at her. Really looked at her. The perfect image she carried around campus was gone. No expensive smile. No social confidence. Just a woman standing in front of the consequences of her choices. My phone vibrated. Marcus. I answered. What happened? His voice was serious. The auditors finished the first review. And Ryan's family is finished. I remained silent. There are fake companies, hidden accounts, redirected funds. The evidence is stronger than we expected. What about Claire's family? Your concern is noted. Marcus. A short pause. Claire's mother invested money through Mitchell Capital. She may lose those investments, but she isn't involved in the fraud. I let out a slow breath. Good. Claire watched my face. What happened? The investigation is moving forward. Fear crossed her expression. My mother. She won't go to prison. She closed her eyes briefly. Then she nodded. That evening, news spread across campus. Ryan's father stepped down from multiple business positions. Several university contracts were frozen. Students who once followed Ryan suddenly disappeared. Funny how quickly admiration changes when power disappears. The next morning, I found Claire waiting outside my office. She wasn't alone. Victoria Bennett stood beside her. Claire's mother looked exactly as she always had. Perfect clothes, perfect posture, perfect control. But there was anger in her eyes. This investigation needs to stop. I leaned against the door. It won't. You don't understand what this could do to families. I understand exactly what fraud does. Her expression hardened. You're doing this because Claire left you. No. You want revenge. If I wanted revenge, I would have humiliated people yesterday. Victoria took a step forward. Then why continue? Because truth matters. She folded her arms. You're destroying people's lives over paperwork. I looked at her calmly. No. People destroy their own lives when they believe money places them above consequences. Her face became cold. Then she turned toward Claire. Say something. Claire remained still. Mom. No. Tell him to stop this. Claire looked between us. I saw fear, pressure, years of expectations sitting on her shoulders. Then something changed. A decision. No. Victoria stared at her. What? I won't ask him to stop. Claire. He's doing the right thing. Her mother's face lost all color. You're choosing him? Claire shook her head. No. She looked at me for a moment. I'm choosing what is true. Victoria stood there in complete disbelief. Then she turned and walked away. Claire watched her leave. A small part of me understood how difficult that moment had been. Not because she chose me, because she chose herself. We sat outside near the old fountain later that afternoon. Students passed by quietly. Nobody interrupted us. Claire removed a small key from her bag. You gave me this during our second year. I recognized it immediately. My apartment key. She placed it beside me. Then she took out an old folded letter. The first love letter I had written for her. This belongs to you too. I didn't touch it. The wind moved softly through the trees. I don't expect another chance, she said. Good. The answer came gently, not cruelly. A sad smile crossed her face. I know. She stood. For a second, it looked like she wanted to say more. Instead, she simply nodded. Then she walked away. That should have been the end. But something unexpected happened. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel angry. I only felt the weight of time. People change. Regret changes them. Pain changes them too. Claire had changed. I could see it. But the man who once waited for her approval had changed as well. That evening, rain covered the city. I stayed in my office, reading reports, answering emails, trying not to think about anything else. A soft knock interrupted me. Claire stood outside the glass door. Drops of rain still rested in her hair. She didn't enter. Didn't ask for anything. Didn't cry. I finally understand why you hid everything. I looked at her. She gave a small smile. You wanted someone to love you before they knew what you owned. Then she turned. Claire. She stopped. I wanted to say something. I wasn't sure what. But the words never came. She walked away slowly, disappearing into the rain. And for the first time since the night she called me a nobody, I stood there wondering if regret could arrive too late. Or if some doors close so quietly that you don't realize they're gone until long after they disappear. 3 weeks after the ceremony, I still woke up thinking about the word. Nobody. It was strange. I had millions of dollars, a powerful company, a respected name, and more influence than I had ever wanted. Yet one sentence from Claire could still find the weakest place inside me. Marcus noticed it before I admitted it. You're winning every battle except the one inside your head. I closed the laptop. I don't know what you mean. You do. He dropped a folder onto my desk. You exposed corruption. You protected the university. You saved legitimate contracts. You graduated from being a hidden student to running one of the fastest-growing companies in the country. He leaned against the desk. So, why do you still look miserable? I stared at the city outside. Because none of that changed what happened. No. Marcus's voice softened. But it changed what happens next. I turned toward him. What am I supposed to do? Decide who you want to be when nobody is watching. That question stayed with me. For years, I had believed my hidden identity was protecting me. Then I believed revealing it would prove my worth. Neither was true. My worth had never depended on my family's money. It had never depended on Claire. It had never depended on a room full of people suddenly knowing my name. So I returned to West Bridge. Not as Cole Meridian's owner. Not as the billionaire everyone now whispered about. Just as Ethan. The campus looked different. Or maybe I did. Students who once walked past me now smiled. Some tried to start conversations. Others suddenly remembered that we had shared classes. I didn't hate them for it. I simply didn't need them anymore. Near the student center, I noticed a group carrying boxes toward a charity office. Then I saw Claire. She wore a simple gray sweater and jeans. No designer dress. No expensive jewelry. No crowd around her. She lifted a box and carried it inside. I stopped. A volunteer noticed me. You looking for someone? I nodded toward Claire. She comes here every afternoon now. Why? The girl shrugged. She never tells anyone. Just helps. I walked away before Claire could see me. But the image stayed with me. That evening, I found myself sitting alone near the old fountain. It was where she had returned my apartment key. My phone buzzed. A message from Claire. Can we talk? Just once. I stared at it for several seconds. Then I replied. Tomorrow. She chose the same fountain. When I arrived, she was already there. She stood when she saw me. Thank you for coming. I sat on the bench. You wanted to talk. She took a breath. I don't want you back. That surprised me. Her fingers moved nervously. I do. Somewhere inside me. I still do. But I know wanting you doesn't give me the right to have you. I didn't answer. I spent so long thinking about what everyone else wanted. She looked toward the fountain. My mother wanted status. My friends wanted perfect couples. Ryan wanted someone who made him look important. She gave a small, sad smile. And I wanted all of it. What do you want now? She looked directly at me. I want to become someone I can respect. The answer was simple. Maybe that was why it mattered. I believe you. Her eyes became wet. But that doesn't mean we're getting back together. I know. I loved you. Her lips trembled. I know. I still care about you. She nodded. But the man who loved you before all this happened isn't the same man sitting here. She wiped her cheek quickly. Did I destroy him? I thought about it. No. Her eyes lifted. You hurt him. I paused. But he rebuilt himself. She nodded slowly. I continued. I can forgive you, Claire. Her breath caught. But forgiveness doesn't erase what happened. I understand. It doesn't mean we return to the past. I understand that too. I reached into my pocket and placed the small silver ring on the bench between us. She stared at it. I kept this. I know. I thought keeping it meant I was holding on to you. She didn't touch it. Maybe I was really holding on to who I used to be. Claire looked at the ring for a long moment. Then she pushed it gently back toward me. Keep it. I frowned. Why? Because it belongs to your past. She stood. And I don't want to be the reason you keep living there. Those words followed me long after she left. Months passed. Cole Meridian expanded into 3 new markets. I moved into a smaller office inside our main headquarters because I wanted to stay close to the people actually building the company. I finished my degree. I stopped hiding my identity, but I also stopped using it as armor. Sometimes students still talked about the night Claire called me a nobody. I didn't correct them. I didn't need to rewrite the story. I knew what had happened, and I knew who I had become afterward. One rainy afternoon, a handwritten envelope arrived at my office. My name was written across the front. Claire's handwriting. I opened it carefully. There were only a few pages. She wrote about the charity program she had joined, about moving out of her mother's house, about learning to make decisions without asking what people would think. She didn't ask me to come back. She didn't ask for another chance. At the end, she wrote, "I used to think losing you was the worst thing that happened to me. Now I understand that losing you forced me to see the person I had become. I'm sorry for hurting you." You don't owe me a reply. I folded the letter. For a moment, I sat quietly with it in my hands. Then I smiled. Not because I wanted her back. Not because I had finally defeated her. And not because I needed her regret. I smiled because I had survived the version of myself that believed her opinion could decide my value. That night, I returned to the old apartment where I had once hidden my wealth and my name. The drawer was still there. Inside sat the silver ring. Beside it was Claire's key and the old photograph from our second year. I picked up the photograph. We were younger, happier, certain that love alone could solve everything. I placed it back. Then I closed the drawer. Tomorrow, I would return to my company. I would build something my father would be proud of. I would make mistakes. I would love again someday. Maybe I would even trust someone enough to tell her everything before she had a chance to ask. But I would never again beg someone to see my worth. Claire once called me a nobody because I had nothing she could show off. She never understood the truth. I wasn't a nobody. I was simply a man who had spent too long trying to be enough for someone who had already decided I wasn't. And when I finally stopped chasing her approval, I discovered the greatest secret of all. I never needed to become somebody. I only needed to remember that I already was.